around this coast here today it is awful. There's a real stormy day, and you remember what you met out the bride. But in 1925, there was a big storm. Oh, it was an awful lot of ships in Placentia Bay were lost, men, fishermen, and everything. There was one boat in particular, John C. Lachlan. We saw that. And there's the only one was accounted for, because the water here in Placentia Bay is very deep, and when ships do or boats get lost, and you never hear tell them again. But my husband went out the next morning after the storm to see what he could, because and he saw a boat away out. I suppose it'd be 60 miles across the bay to see how far she. And he thought he saw a man hanging from the cross trees. His arm, tied up to the cross trees, and he's swinging back and forth. The storm was still on. So he came ashore, and he got all his friends, around, neighbours, to go out to see, could he get any? Could they do anything for him? So we saw this man hanging up still, and they were in a motorboat, and he said the only thing to do was to cut the rope, because he couldn't get at the man. It was dangerous to stand on the side of the motorboat. So they cut the rope that held him. He dropped down into the motorboat. They brought him ashore. They didn't know who he was, but he was the only one who got in Placentia Bay that year, 1925, 27, 1925. They brought the man ashore and put on dry clothes on him and fixed him up and sent word. But there was no place, we didn't know who he was, where he belonged to. But he's John Lachlan, that was the name was on the boat. And they brought this man in Placentia, and they left him in the courthouse to be identified with his people or something. But a few days after, or I don't know, but it was the next day, my husband went up to see if they could get any other sign of wreckage, anything in her that you could find out anything about who he was. Or he was the only one that was picked up anyhow. So they got a clothes bag. Belonged to a little boy, I suppose it could be about 15 or 16 years of age. He brought it ashore. We opened it and looked through it, thinking we might find something where we'd know who he was or where he belonged to. We got in the pocket a little mouth organ, in one pocket, and in another one his identification card. And I read this, my name is Joshua Barrett. I belong to Woody Island, Placentia Bay. And we knew then Woody Island was just off of here, Placentia Bay. So I said, we have an idea anyhow where the clothes bag came from. So when I got a chance, I wrote to the nearest relative of Joshua Barrett, Woody Island, Placentia Bay. And about 2 weeks after, we got a letter. And it would really make you cry, because the woman said, the clothes bag belonged to our dear boy, she said. He went with his uncle to Cape St. Mary's that summer for one little trip. And that's all ever we heard him, she said. So we discovered who he was. And the man, John Lachlan, that they picked up, he was the skipper of the craft. And a few weeks after, they towed her into Placentia, and she was repaired. I think she was out on the fishing grounds again, I don't know, but there's none of the Lachlans in her, they were all gone.